This is He Knows Everything, bringing you that heat. Or we keeping the foot on the whoop. Oh, niggas. We keeping the foot on the whoop. Oh, niggas. And like the Tibetan mass shift that I am, I'm applying whoop on immediate pressure. Because pressure does what? Heat versus pipes. Let's talk about it, man. Alright. We got two fighters, Errol Spence and Canelo Alvarez. These two guys, when it's all said and done, they are going to have a super fight of epic proportions and epic magnitudes. Contrary to what people think about He Knows Everything, which the haters, they can't stop commenting in the comment section. You know, if you don't have no haters, you ain't doing nothing right. Let me say it again, if you ain't got no haters, you ain't doing nothing right. But we have to look at the cold-hearted, the unadulterated, and the cutthroat Tuchella fashion. This is a fight that's going to decide supremacy for this generation, this era. Cinnamon Dust of a Horchata of Alvarez is a fighter that has told himself that he has learned, that he has basically graduated from the Mayweather washing, double washing and triple washing affair, from the bachelor's degree ass whooping, from the PhD degree ass whooping, from basically what we would say the doctorate's degree of an ass whooping. He's basically said that he's gotten it, that the master's degree of an ass whooping has taught him a thing or two. Well, if that's the case, the only way we're going to know this is when he fights against the likes of Errol the True Spence. See, what we have to understand as fight fans is Errol the True Spence is a rock star fighter. He is what is known as the big fish. He is the creme de la creme of what we would call the welterweight division. But he's also the creme de la creme of boxing. This is how you know when a fighter is basically the face of boxing. Everybody wants to fight him. Everybody wants to step into the ring with a guy of that epic proportion, that epic magnitude, and that epic variation. This is what separates Errol the True Spence from other boxers. The fact that he can translate from one weight class to the next. Now, we're basically going to couple a few topics into this video. I'm basically going to do maybe like 2 or 3 topics because I feel like I need to unpack a few things. Terence Crawford. He sat there and said that Floyd Mayweather was hating on him. Okay, how is Floyd hating on Terence Crawford? There's nothing that Terence Crawford has done in his boxing career to make a Floyd Mayweather hate you. You have to be Errol the True Spence-esque in order for a hate to happen on that epic proportion, that epic variation, that epic magnitude. What do you bring to the table other than being a chihuahua walking behind the fence? You're a chihuahua that barks. You don't bring nothing of epic proportion, nothing of epic magnitude, nothing of epic variation to the table. You're ducking the Errol the True Spence fight. He Knows Everything was the only one that told you guys that this guy was ducking that Errol the True Spence fight because he never really wanted to fight. When we sit here and we look at Terence Crawford, we see a fighter that does not want to have the Hagler and Hearns situation repeat itself all over again. Terence Crawford is a fighter that understands his limitations. He understands the limiters that's associated with his boxing resume. If you notice, Bud Man fans, Bud Tards, Terence Crawford fanboy man crushers, they are nowhere to be found. And the reason for that is because what they come to the conclusion and the realization is that Terence Crawford was simply a chihuahua walking behind it. Hey, he was a chihuahua walking behind the damn fence. That's what he was. And now he has the unmitigated the audacity to talk against TBE, the best to ever do it. The guy that gave you basically the CompuBox blueprint of him being a guy that's unstoppable in Floyd Money Mayweather. You have nothing that you could talk about as it relates to and against Floyd. And contrary to what people think, Floyd is baiting Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford doesn't understand that. A lot of fight fans, they're brain full of mush and brainwashed dodo heads. They don't know the difference between what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. So they get caught up in soliloquies of what a Floyd does. Floyd does what Michael Jordan used to do to Kobe Bryant. Floyd does that with Errol Spence. It's that motivation. When you got a guy that is a translucent image, is a transparent image of who you are, you push them. You still want to push them because you want to know if they are everything that you know them to be, if they are everything that you believe that they are. So when you see any slippages or you see anything that makes you feel like you have an advantage in i.e. Michael Jordan and i.e. Floyd Mayweather, you take your digs. This is what Michael Jordan did to Kobe Bryant. If you guys recall, Michael Jordan, a lot of people are so caught up in when Kobe dropped 55.5 on Michael Jordan, they forgot that the game prior that caused Kobe Bryant to go off the way that he did and caused Kobe Bryant to engineer the greatness that he did, Michael Jordan got the best of him in the first time. Not only did the Washington Wizards beat the Los Angeles Lakers, Michael Jordan told Kobe Bryant, "You're not worthy enough to basically tie my shoestrings." That rubbed Kobe Bryant a certain kind of way because basically, to Kobe Bryant's mindset, he was being viewed as someone that Michael Jordan was basically saying, "You're not on my fucking level." And that made Kobe feel some type of way, dog. We gotta sing the song. Got me feeling some type of way. Got me feeling some type of way. Got me feeling some type of way. Some type of way. He had Kobe feeling some type of way, so Kobe had to drop 55.5. You can see that he was motivated. That's what Floyd Mayweather is doing. This is how we're contextualizing it. With Errol Spence, when he says Terence Crawford is the best welterweight, or Terence Crawford is the guy that is the dude at the welterweight division. Floyd don't believe that shit. But Floyd is saying it to motivate Errol Spence so that Errol Spence can realize all of his potential and realize everything to the basically simple science of greatness personification can only be hindered. The motherfucker can't be stopped. See, at that level with Michael Jordan and Kobe, that was the mental game that Michael played with Kobe. That was the mental game that Floyd Mayweather plays with Errol Spence. So it's not that Floyd believes these things about Terence Crawford. The chihuahua walking behind the damn fence. It's more so that Floyd is pushing Errol Spence. Because you gave me a black eye in sparring, dog. I went tooth and nail with your ass. We had basically what Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant had on the basketball court. We had that in the boxing ring. Leonard Ellaby said we left the Mayweather era and we ushered into the Spence era. Leonard Ellaby also talked about how that sparring match was better than 99.9% of the fights that he's ever watched. Whew. It's things that make you say. It's things that make you say. So now we go back to Errol Spence and Canelo Alvarez. See, what we have to tell ourselves as fight fans is that Errol Spence is the face of boxing because he has so many options that a Deontay Wilder doesn't have, that a Canelo Alvarez doesn't have, that a Terence Crawford doesn't have. He has the options. Errol Spence can go all the way up to 160 and fight Canelo Alvarez for a dream fight right now. Probably in the near future. I believe when he moves up to 154 and he gets assimilated to the 154 weight class, then he may test out that theory of 160 with Canelo Alvarez, because Canelo Alvarez can get down to 160 and they can have their super fight for epic proportions and epic magnitudes. Canelo Alvarez has been basically in the limelight longer than Errol Spence, but Errol Spence usurped him when it comes to limelight ability. And the fact that Canelo Alvarez is now copying Errol Spence as it relates to horse riding or horseback riding. See, these things happen in boxing. And the reason why they happen is because they're quintessential of one thing. And the one thing that they're quintessential of is that Errol Spence is the big fish. And you can't get behind that. You can't get around that. Now we have to talk about this other issue that's a systemic issue, that's an even bigger picture issue. If fight fans are being honest with themselves, fight fans will tell themselves that Gervonta Tank Davis is a boxer that will knock the shit out of Teofimo Lopez. See, when we look at Gervonta Tank Davis, we have to ask ourselves what the buildup is. What is the stock? Gervonta Tank Davis is a tank. A literal tank in the humanoid form. What I said was so deep and profound. Let me let that marinate in the corpus callosum and the cerebellum. So, let's say it, dog. Gervonta Tank Davis is a tank that is basically endued or subdued into a humanoid state. This is why he literally tanks your ass in a boxing ring. I mean, if you go to Fort Knox, which is in Kentucky, which is the basic training I went to, in the Army, they tell you Fort Benning is the number one, is the hardest, and then Fort Knox is the number two, but they go back and forth. I think the time that I was there, Fort Knox was ranked number one and Fort Benning was ranked number two. So that should give you a little indicator, because, you know, we had heartbreak, agony, and misery. Those were the mountains that we had to climb up those motherfuckers. I'm talking about mountain peaks so high that as you're going up it, you feel like you're going to fall back. And we're doing this with 70-pound rucksacks, dog. I mean, this thing is it's crazy what we're doing. Just letting your brain think about it for a second. It's crazy the level of work that had to be put in at that time. That was when the Army was the Army. I don't know what the Army is now, but at that time when the Army was the Army, this is what we were dealing with from a delineation standpoint. This is what we were dealing with from a distinction standpoint. This is what we were dealing with from a separation standpoint. This is what we were dealing with from a golf standpoint. And in the golfing of it, the delineation of it, the distinction of it, the separation of it, we had to ask ourselves this underlying truth. And what the heck was that? The underlying truth was as simple as this: that when it's all said and done, that Gervonta Tank Davis is the reason why the lightweight division is a real division in the sport. Vasily Lomachenko got robbed of that Loma versus Tank fight. To be honest with you, I never want to see the Loma and Tank fight again, because the prestige of it was robbed. Tank is never going to get the full credit of obliterating Vasily Lomachenko, because they're going to give it to the super duper high job variation, even though the super duper high job variation didn't do nothing. Even though the super duper high job variation basically should be running it back, they're not going to give him credit for that. Because when we look at Teofimo Lopez, we see a makeup and a stock of a fighter that was is and shall be and continue to be a super duper high job variation, right? But Gervonta Tank Davis, the fighter that he is, he's special. Because Gervonta Tank Davis, for a small guy of his stature, guys that are usually the size of Gervonta Tank Davis, they usually have limiters on them. They usually have a cap. Gervonta Tank Davis is not tall, man. But Gervonta Tank Davis is such a special fighter that everybody can eat off of him. Teofimo Lopez, Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. So all roads leads to Tank. So in this video, what he knows everything is getting you guys to see is the central point of what he was trying to tell you from day one. That Errol Spence is the rock star of the welterweight division. There's no denying that. Errol Spence is the face of boxing. There's really no denying that. That Terence Crawford is nothing but a chihuahua barking behind the damn fence. And that Gervonta Tank Davis is not only box office outside the ring, he's box office in the ring. This is what Ryan Garcia was alluding to when he said that Gervonta Tank Davis is the most popular lightweight. Now Gervonta Tank Davis goes to 140 pounds to go fight Barrios. So Gervonta Tank Davis will have collected belts and dominated in 3 respective weight classes: 130, 135, and 140. We haven't seen shit like this since the Pernell Whitaker days. We haven't seen shit like this since Floyd Money Mayweather, dog. Floyd actually did it in 5 weight classes. He rode up all the way to 154. I don't think Gervonta Tank Davis can do that because Gervonta Tank Davis is not 5'8", and that's the only limiter on him. But if Gervonta Tank Davis was 5'8" like Floyd, there would be no doubt in my mind that a Gervonta Tank Davis would be able to go 5 weight classes because of his special ability. I give Gervonta Tank Davis 140. That's his cap off. But boy, in these 3 weight classes, this man would have been champion in all 3. Can Devin Haney talk about that? I'll wait on that. Can Ryan Garcia talk about that? I'll wait on that. It looks like he went on mental retardation or a mental state of buffoonery and stupefaction of wanting to retire when it came down and the dust settled that he needed to fight Gervonta Tank Davis. This is how electrifying Gervonta Tank Davis is. Man, remember we used to hear that term, the most electrifying man in all of sports entertainment? The Rock, right? Well, Gervonta Tank Davis has taken that mantle of being the most electrifying man in all of sports of entertainment, dog. Because he's electrifying nevertheless. What this guy can do in the boxing ring, it can't be quantified, it can't be calculated, it can't be verified, it can't be certified. It can only be authorized. Because he has authorization and certification to tank you. This is what Tank does, man, at his truest and his most properest levels. Because Tank is not playing with nobody in the boxing ring. He's coming to dominate. And he knows everything could leave with this. And a prediction constructed, right? And a prediction constructed. Because when it was all said and done, he knows everything told you guys that Errol Spence would be where he was at. And did he not get there? He knows everything told you that Terence Crawford was a chihuahua walking behind the damn fence. Is he not that? And he knows everything told you guys that Gervonta Tank Davis is box office and that he would dominate any and every motherfucker that he fought. Did that not happen? So when it's all said and done, this is the platform you need to be fucking with. Because every time this motherfucker says some shit, it always happens. Look at Deontay Wilder. He won arbitration. He knows everything told you guys. He needed to file an injunction on that ass. He did it. And look what ended up happening for him. Good things happen for him because he gets the trilogy. Hopefully he doesn't pay the loser fucking again. Now, I'm not going to say that I've written Deontay Wilder off. I still, contrary to what people think, have all the respect in the world for him. But I don't have respect for that paid to fucking lose, man. That's why I'm so critical. See, people don't understand how he knows everything gets down. I have to ride a little bit on this. I'm always going to be critical of each and every situation because it's called keep the foot on the whoop. Keep the foot on the whoop. When you keeping the foot on the necks, there's nothing cute about keeping the foot on the necks. Keeping the foot on the necks is what it is. Keeping the foot on the damn necks. And that means friend or foe. Because when it's all said and done, he knows everything is not here to tell you what you want to hear. He's here to tell you what you need to hear. That's the cool part. That's the unadulterated. That's the cutthroat teller fashion. I keeps the foot on the whoop. I keeps the foot on the whoop. This is He Knows Everything. Check it out.
Smoke is free, but you can't smoke for free.
Go ahead, He Knows.